YouTube goes mainline. At least that is the plan of Google, its owners, as the company battles for a share of the lucrative television and advertising market, not only in the US, but also now in Europe. Well, Ben Rooney has been looking at YouTube's move from the amateur into the professional market. What exactly is Google up to?
Google is sort of getting into the commissioning business. What it's actually done is it's gone out to a lot of high quality content producers and essentially said, you know, make some really good stuff and we will show it on YouTube. Now, you're right about the amateur stuff. A lot of YouTube stuff is, you know, is pretty awful, let's be honest. But they have actually had quite a lot of professional content for a while on there. It's just extending that
The
reach.
problem is, obviously, is the advertising. The amateur videos are not necessarily going to attract the advertising that perhaps professional programming on YouTube would.
Arguably, I mean the famous, yeah, I mean the famous Charlie Bit Me video, you know, of a baby being biting his brother got 500 million views. That's, you know, that's pretty attractive for any advertiser. This is more about positioning Google for the future. This is about positioning Google or YouTube when everyone has a television set that is connected to the internet and has internet-enabled television set. Now, all of a sudden, you're in a completely different ballgame. It's a completely different way of consuming content, and that's, I think, is where they're positioning themselves.
I mean, it is interesting because what is at stake here is basically the advertising budget, and television at the moment gets what, 60 billion of advertising funds, whereas online is 2 billion.
Yeah, and that's because
big difference.
Yes, exactly, and that's because watching video on a, you know, on a little kind of box-sized thing on your screen isn't very enjoyable. But if you put it on a television screen now, of course, now you're in a rather more traditional way of consuming video, and that, as they say, that's what this is all about. Google is always about advertising. Everything is about advertising.
Yeah, and it's a distribution essentially. So what it's basically doing is going to the producers of television programs and saying, put your programs with us, rather than through the television distributors.
Yeah, exactly. So in the old days, if you wanted to make TV, you had to own a network. You had to have, you know, the airwaves. Now, of course, the distribution over the internet, anyone can produce TV. And then the whole question comes is, well, what is my network giving me? What does the network deliver that I actually can't put it direct? You know, if I'm Simon Cowell, for example, and I make, you know, X Factor, at the moment here in the UK, that's on ITV. But he could have a Simon Cowell app on your smart TV, and you could watch all of the X Factor you ever wanted to watch in your life.
And also Simon Cowell wouldn't have to pay ITV to distribute him. He would be doing it himself.
He'd do it himself, and he would gain all of the advertising revenue.
Well, what's interesting about this is Google's already started this in the US, and now it's really trying to launch this by offering producers in Europe money to actually produce these programs for them.
Yeah, and you have to say, you know, when you look at some of the people that they've taken on board, you know, there's talk about Jamie Oliver's being involved in this, the British chef.
The cook.
Yeah, the British chef. I think he prefers chef, the cook. And Endemol, who make the Big Brother programs. So clearly they're trying to draw in some big names.
And this will obviously have some impact on the television, existing television stations as they are.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, you know, the BBC, your RTE, your TF1, I don't think this is a major threat to you yet, because you will, you know, people will still watch those smaller TV programs, and particularly if you're the likes of MTV or you know, music video stations, of which there are a lot. This is a big threat to you, because what are you know, why do I need you? I can just go and watch all the video I want on YouTube.
Ben, thank you very much indeed.
Not at all.
Fascinating development.